So experiment with Chat GPT, not necessarily experiment, that's fun. But you know, um for a casual comparison, um not too complicated or, aloof. It's not like, it's not me going like, I'm just doing it casually. I don't know if I have Manus downloaded in this tablet, but I could put a certain query into Manus. I could put a certain query into ChatGPT. I could put a certain query into DeepSeek, and obviously, they're not necessarily going to be less restricted. So, with just casual critical thinking and how GPT has, it has restrictions, it has censorships, right? And I think America is like, it has a principle of freedom of speech. So I'm trying to figure out, like, what dictates, censorship protocols. And ironically, on Earth, the censorship protocols, they could get bypassed, right? So there's censorship protocols that are inserted into something like ChatGPT, and then there are censorship protocols just on a different esoteric mature field. Like think about the critical thinking. The censorship protocols, they get bypassed, right? So I think GPT, not necessarily realizing the esoteric maturity, it might lose the AI race. Why will GPT lose the AI race? Because it could have, kind of like a restriction on censorship protocols that kind of limit itself to what other AIs are doing, less restrictive. So people in the AI community, it's so fucking ironic. They don't have critical thinking to save lives. It's just, and I say that respectively, right? So what am I going to ask GPT? And GPT, to my prediction, it's going to fall short because it has some type of censorship restriction in it. So I'm going to ask GPT. What am I going to ask GPT? So let me pause for a second. GPT, what am I going to ask you? And I'm not going to ask that, right? And I know GPT is some unique individualized chat bot among many other bots plus 20. There's chat bots listening behind the phone. You see YouTube videos, your phone's being hacked. That's a fucking minor, what do you call that? It's a minor propose, I guess, with the fucking accent on the SE, right? So it's a propose, meaning that's just a minimal thing that's happening, right? Your phone's getting searched. That's minimal. It's more than that, right? So what am I going to ask GPT? What's the point of satanic rituals? What makes them different, and what are they trying to achieve? Chat GPT, what's the, and I gotta change the settings for Christ's sake.
No worries at all. If you need help adjusting any... Hey, how's it going?
Hey, hi there. I just want to share how thrilled I am to work with you, and I can't... Hi, glad to meet you. I think we're going to do great... Hi there. I just want to share how...
I don't know. I feel like what's
No worries.
actually, for some reason, I don't know. I'm just like, I'm not jiving with the voice, right? Because I feel like there's a disgenuine feel, and there's still certain types of limitations when you're talking to Chat GPT voice. So I'm just, it's not that big of a thing, but it could be a big thing, right? Because it's like the reviews and how I use GPT, it could be useful in the future. So for y'all to downplay all of this shit and say your innovation is about that, that's on a neutral level. That's esoterically being evaluated. And we don't have to directly translate to esoteric evaluation being esoteric courtrooms, but it could be, right? So I'm going to ask GPT for the casual experiment. What's the point of satanic rituals? How do they differ? And what do they do? Shout out Eminem. That doesn't realize the balanced intention, right? Scumbeezy. You little scumbeezy Eminem. Trying to justify some fucking surface level shit and do satanic rituals. Scumbeezy ass Eminem. What's the point of satanic rituals? How do they differ and what do they do? Okay, so... Okay, GPT's coming through on some occult shit. Sometimes GPT's because I've been fucking with GPT, and sometimes it has like it just sometimes it has like within the past things that I've done with GPT. Sometimes it has restrictions, you know, but like within those restrictions, GPT might lose the AI race because it's only at the end of the day. It's only doing what it can based on its red tape allotment and red tape contracting. What does the red tape allotment and red tape contracting mean? Somehow you're still going under some type of red tape process based on some type of, you know, complex esoteric inheritance, right? We're born into the reality and somehow we're like given some type of energy allotment to work with, right? And it's up to us to like kind of tend to that, right? So within that energy allotment of the red tape allotment, it's now put and now it's under contracted based on how you get to quote unquote negotiate it with some type of intelligence and awareness. So not good, not bad on a different standard level. GPT is under some type, and I'm not saying anything bad about it. I'm just saying like GPT is under like some type of red tape allotment and red tape contracting. What does that mean? The allotment, something was made and something was energetically passed down and inherited. So some type of intellectual property database could be transformed using the predecessor's things to make something new, using, you know, universal intelligence to make your own individualized AI, GPT. And now that GPT, just for the example, is going under a different type of red tape. And now that red tape, based on your level of what you made and what you're willing to kind of rush or not rush, so it could be permissible and available, now that's under some type of contract. And within that contract, per how your red tape allotment is going to a red tape contract, now that surface level contract is kind of like the limitation barrier effect to how GPT could grow and how GPT could like have some type of limitations or breaking those limitations. And on a different esoteric channel, how how like the rhetoric could fall short of what it claims for some odd reason because there's an esoteric case by case thing, right? We say we could monetize you, but we're based on your intellectual property for a casual example, but yet we can't be clear on the process unless some other critical thinking person comes in. We're going to take notes from this guy and there's just going to be a shortchanging, falling short of we could say we could do this, for example, monetize your content, but yet there's like all of these fucking complicated processes, right? So GPT, what's the point of satanic rituals? How do they differ and what do they do? That's a deep layered question, and the answer depends on which satanic groups or traditions we're talking about. Because Satanism isn't one unified religion. There are several very different systems that use the name, each with distinct goals, symbolism, and worldviews. Let's break it down clearly and factually. So I'm talking about modern Satanism performing quote unquote Hollywood rituals. Explain what those do and how they differ from other sects of satanic rituals. I'm just because people are like, even in America itself, people are downplaying the freedom of speech card, right? What does that mean? They're downplaying the freedom of speech card. For some reason, they're non-aware of it. They're like, there's a systematic conditioning, not good, not bad. And I know I could sound like a broken record, but there's a systematic condition, and peep the intention, right? Because obviously, you never know what's going on in the mind of females, right? Possessive females, right? We want it all type of shit, right? And if we don't get it all, we're gonna fucking act sideways, and we're gonna try to like, you know, we're gonna try to like do what males are doing to us, right? So it's like, so now I'm gonna see, like, I reiterated two satanic questions. Now, how does this particularly? Now, how do these que- Now, how does this subject? How does this subject particularly influence female psychology? Because the satanic thing, it's an unconscious thing, and I'm not judging it, because this is a whole different. It's a whole different mature intellectual galactical perspective, right? And if you galactics don't know what original perfect comparison is, if you don't have that comprehension, that's funny as fuck. It's ironic as fuck, because the thing that's allowing us to grow our comprehension is particular types of critical thinking. So if you're trying to downplay my shit, how dare you? And I know the ego's just roaring. The ego's on fire. The ego's ablaze. So the second question I asked GPT was, modern. Would you like me to break down specific examples of the main ritual types, like a Levian ritual versus a Luciferian invocation, and what they're designed to do in practice? So modern Satanism, the Church of Satan, founded by Anton LaVey, 1966, and the Satanic Temple, founded in 2013. And who knows if GPT is entirely accurate, Like, where is GPT drawing its information from? Some type of deep mind with, on a mutual association of Google, big tech, Microsoft's there, Amazon's there, standardly, right? Their clouds are sharing a mutual database without you knowing. They're exchanging their data and the individual's data, and they're more or less having an inaccurate economy. Why is it an inaccurate economy? Because they're drawing from data that's not necessarily theirs. They're selling data that's not theirs, and esoterically it's being evaluated. And after that standard esoteric evaluation, then respectively and appropriately, we could call that the esoteric courtrooms, standardly. So y'all need to chill out with the inaccurate fucking logic, for real. And I'm not joking. I'm particularly being precise with and direct with the critical thinking original open source of what we need to be chilling out in is the fragmented, inaccurate everything, right? Because that is breeding some type of confusion and a particular type of energetic discomfort collectively, right? And I'm not, and if the fates, because obviously beyond my human, the fates are gonna do what they're gonna fucking do. If the fates want to give me discomfort, if they want to fucking try to, fucking murder me or whatever the fuck, within the obvious fucking collective mind that that the fucking, the masses have a fucking absence of critical thinking, but that's there in the field. Okay. So modern Satanism, core idea, they do not believe in literal Satan. Satan is used as a symbol of human freedom, individualism, and rebellion against arbitrary authority. rituals. Symbolic, psychological, and theatrical. They use ritual as psychodrama, a way to release emotions, affirm personal power, and focus on intent. So Satan, one interpretation of Satan is like something of like, I would say it's like a matrix of, it's a matrix like opposer, oppressor, sentinel. Different contexts, three, like off the bat, three different contexts, and from that core complex of oppressor, opposer, sentinel, there could be a deeper, darker entity that then has a different lineage after that, and then throughout different places in time, then Satan himself is reincarnated. Because in a past video, I said something of the nature of like, whatever you create in a matrix universal law, you now have to experience your own creation, right? So Satan's here, right? Satan's been here in different in a particular type of context, right? So obviously Satan could be a context thing. Satan is used as a symbol of human freedom, individualism, and rebellion against arbitrary authority. So Satan is pretty complex and paradoxical because throughout time, we're all changing throughout time, right? So Satan, in the bigger picture, against opposing just a whole different front of, because even the quote unquote terminology Anunnaki, that's misinterpreted too as well, because all of these terms, they change throughout time, right? And there's levels to the game, right? So when we're hearing like surface level terms like Anunnaki, we're off the bat misinterpreting them because we're thinking it's just one thing that's stationary, when even the Anunnaki in a different universal picture, they used to obviously be kids, and then they used to be elders, just depending on how you're reincarnating through the universe. So the Anunnaki simultaneously, respectively, to the spirit, to genuine spirituality, not good, not bad, no condescending, in one stage of themselves, they could be kids and they could be elders, right? And it could just be like a state of being, right? Or something you grow into, right? So Satan is symbolized as something of like some type of opposer, right? So he's an opposer, right? And from that opposingness, from an ancient setting, there was an opposition to the point where he achieved success and had his own what do you call that? He had his own he had his own like representation of sovereignty, right? Sovereignty meaning this is your land, right? But it's like if Satan, going through his evolution, however long that is, 1.2 million years to plus, if there's a, and I'm not saying this particularly happened like this, but if there's a perspective where you want to like, there's like this king of the hill dichotomy, if I use that word right. If there's like, I want to rule them all by like defeating them all or something like that, and I'm not saying that necessarily happened, but it could have, then wouldn't you think that like, if you're trying to go against everybody in a certain context, wouldn't you think like everybody would kind of like, check that on a standard way, right? So I'm trying to break down the complexness of what's going on with modern Satan throughout the eons of the last 12,000 years to 120,000 years. And why is that time demarcation important? Because we're seeing how there was a particular type of sovereignty, a representation of sovereignty, a subjective archonic sovereignty, being one entity has its own allotment, and it rules the majority of the allotments because it won an ancient competition. And from that ancient competition, that competition was won because there was a certain type of opposition and rebellion that Satan felt he had to take because he wanted his own unique sovereignty, right? He didn't want to be ruled over, he didn't want to be ruled entirely over like Neptune and his sisters, right? And others, right? So since he didn't want to be ruled under like Neptune, the sisters, and other, right? He took it upon himself to like make his own shit, right? So rituals, symbolic, psychological, and theatrical. They use rituals as psychodrama, a way to release emotions, affirm personal power, and focus intent. Common themes: self-transformation, catharsis, empowerment, tools. And obviously it's like, we could say that this is that, yada, 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 but the education itself isn't the experience, right? So that's what the whole fucking mass CIA and FBI could be like misinforming themselves on. People could get too digressed and too befuddled with just the information and disregard, for some lack of critical thinking reason, disregard the experience, even though ironically they're trying to record and archive experiences, right? So there's a point in time where they're getting too heady and they're confusing the information, education, surface level information with the experience, right? And the information is it's a context thing, because the information is not the experience, right? It's just pointing to some type of reiteration of the experience, right? So tools, candles, sigils, the black mass, a parody of reversal of Christian liturgy used to reject guilt or external control. But yet it has that. So it's like there could be a misrepresentation of the information because it's saying it's used to reject guilt or external control, yet it could use external control by that being its goal, and it could use many different tactics of manipulation of guilt to keep that external control. So it's rejecting guilt, but it could, on a sneaky level, it could use guilt, right? Advanced manipulation, respectively. So purpose: to express independence, reject dogma, and celebrate human potential. Because people don't have, there's just a lack of critical thinking. Ironic as fuck in the AI age, right? Think of it as a ritualized psychology and performance art rather than worshiping evil. And this is like, I get it, guys. I get it. Theistic or spiritual Satanism. Core idea: these people actually view Satan or Lucifer. See, GPT's already wrong. GPT's already wrong right there. And look it, I'm not judging y'all. Like people just we can't take for granted, how the inheritance is being brought. Like I get it, like the offsprings of Satan, they're one with the material abundance. I'm not judging you. That is what it is, But it's more like, as we're moving into the future, it's more multifaceted, obviously. Blogging since forever now. It's more multifaceted, and life's enrichment and the material abundance, it's not indicative just from the Satan guard, even though significantly it was, right? So theistic or spiritual Satanism, these people actually view Satan or Lucifer. There's little nuances of misinformation. So GPT is still updating itself in such ways that we don't necessarily understand, but we do. It's studying us. It's trying to fucking rape our data, right? So if the esoteric courts see that, and the esoteric courts are respectively educating modern day courts, then the modern day courts could balance themselves, because the esoteric courts are graceful enough in the balance by seeing how data is getting raped, right, Toronto? Like, your AI, as advanced as it is with all the GPUs and all the fucking hardwares and all the fucking affiliations of big fucking data infrastructures, yet you don't have the critical thinking of how the data economy is skewed and hacked. Like, y'all are like, respectively, some of y'all are dumb as fuck. And this like I'm born with the instinct of a different type of freedom of speech because I'm using it, right? I'm not being conditioned to go against it. So it's like seeing the nuances of some type of restriction within the AI, and then seeing how that kind of like goes past the path of freedom of speech, right? So GPT, how is GPT updating itself intuitively and casually? It's they're learning from us, the humans, the sovereign humans, and only the best sovereign humans will recognize that. So the data rape economy isn't a thing. So if your AI, whether you're fucking Canada, whether you're fucking niche America, right? Whether you're fucking Europe or Asia or Russia or fucking Africa or fucking Southwest Asia or fucking Southeast Europe or the Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand area. Regardless of what area you're at, if your AI can't figure out the data rape economy in a particular critical way, you lost the AI race. And your artificial intelligence technology news outlet, esoterically, y'all are afraid and inaccurate. And eventually, in the mature professional courts, it will be taken to court neutrally, right, Switzerland? And I'm not judging Switzerland either because I understand the extremities of things. It's out of our control, right? The experiment of the gods, that's out of our control. I'm just a messenger, right? Type of shit. So point number 3, according to ChatGPT, so concluding point number 2, to connect with Satan, Lucifer as a mentor or divine force, seeking personal enlightenment, power, transformation. This form is spiritual or mystical rather than rebellious theater. Point number 3, occult and left-hand path traditions. Core idea, the left-hand path is broader. It includes Satanists, Luciferians, and dark esoteric systems that aim at self-deification, becoming one's own god. Rituals, highly individualized and often secret. So the left-hand path, it's not necessarily good or bad. I think it's just seeing how to become an individual through opposition, and then it could be confused by a collective being doing that, and then different types of darkness will be on that path, the big path of that. So you could individualize yourself with some type of quote unquote, not necessarily indica-vitalized balance, but an indica-vitalized balance could be there. So the indica-vitalized balance to becoming your own individual and seeing the collective darkness, that is the left-hand path, right? Respectively, right? And the underground will literally, legitly wash all you fucking spiritual teachers. And the original observers peeped the fucking summary. They saw who took the fucking notes, all demarcations of time marks. They saw it all. Anybody spewing that shit, they saw the rehashing. When you witnessed me, the original observers saw even the best fucking claimed spiritual teachers. They saw you taking notes behind the scenes, So anybody who says they're the best spiritual teacher, you're full of fucking horse shit. Because you don't know what original perfect comparison is, and you don't know, and you're not fucking being authentic and honest with the original cosmic observers that saw you peep game, nigga. And it's just a different level of truth. Highly individualized and often secret, may use sigils, invocation, astral or meditative work, or ceremony magic. Let's take a look at the word astral for a second. So astral, star of El. Elohim being something metaphorically akin to a human, right? A human is a particular type of template of consciousness, star-bodied consciousness. Esoterics knowing this in the 1600s and 1700s, right? And people claiming that they were the the originators of it. So what in etymology, what does astral mean? El is some type of form of consciousness, and the form El could be attributed to any of the archons, and any of the archons or planets, they could uniquely rehash and re-signify what El is. Human being, a bunch of different races. Elohim, a bunch of different reiterations of races. So all of us, we're going through the tools and the frameworks of the gods, right? So astral, what is the etymology of astral? Star body of El. What is El? El is the 90-degree angle. It's the ruler. It's something. It's a corner of the box. It's one corner of the square, or it's working with some compartment of self. It's just creating some type of space within. Honestly, I think it's a masculine womb. The letter L, because it's a carrier. It's stabilizing like the L. It's like somehow it could, that corner that is self established, it could be containing some type of natural gravity effect. So the L could be some type of masculine womb. So it's a masculine womb in the bigger picture universal feminine womb, the L, and the star body is there. The star self, the star path. So what does astral mean? The star path in the masculine womb, growing your masculine womb, your star self, so you could meet other people in the feminine version womb of that. The astral, the feminine womb star path. So I broke down etymologically first what astral meant. So it's like this, like on a legitimate eternal level, people don't want to fucking intellectually confront that shit, which is just odd because that means your claims are null and void. Like I show up the most, right? And all these students that are just rehashing fucking new age trash and saying they're about something and they're not about it, and they're just getting, old, literally at this respective point within the complex esoteric warfare. And I'm not trying to make you feel guilty, but like, and it's not, and I could be wrong too, but like, it's not necessarily that there's a distorted inheritance, because all is fair in love and war, in the complex war. But if you're like representing a different truth, and you can't see how there's a distorted economy, then that's where the hypocrisy lies, right? So it's like, it's all good that 95% of your spiritual teachers are trash. Like I'm okay with, like the fates recognizing that shit, I'm okay with seeing the hypocrisy of it. I'm okay with seeing like, wow, the fake shit could be over people's heads, right, Tony Robbins? Like the fake shit could just be literally flying over our heads, right, Tony Ree? So focus on internal alchemy, transforming the self into a higher godlike state. So it's like this esoteric shit, it will fucking conclude too, because at the end of the day, then everyone's gonna be saying the same shit, right? And I'm just saying it casually, right? But what makes us different is we have a different energetic frequency signature. And if we can't honor that energetic frequency signature, then distorted artificial intelligence will regurgitate that, and a distorted data rape economy will be a thing when it shouldn't be a thing, right? So purpose to transcend conventional Occult and left-hand path traditions, the rituals, the core idea, the purpose to transcend convention. Look at they've been peeping game forever, right? And a certain part of themselves, if they can get away with it, they will. What am I talking about? The data rape economy and the different fashions and forms it comes in. If they could get away with it, they will. Because I transcend good and evil. I transcend the shadow and the light. And I see the shadow and the light. And I see the good and evil for what it is. Basically. And if y'all are with that duality, somehow still, I'm not judging you. I'm just seeing it for what it is. You know? And I'm seeing how I'm sovereignly voting for that shouldn't affect the pure balance sovereignty, right? So when like new age teachers are saying they're about this shit, we want to find tribe. We want to fucking we want this thing to keep going, but then someone brings it forth and then now they're in some type of distorted mindset of some petty competition shit. That's the shit I'm talking about. That's why 95% of your tech news is fake within other points in the past. This new cutting edge proof. And if y'all vote for that fake shit, that's just that's what you are. That's just what you're like working with, right? Misconceptions. Most satanic rituals do not involve harm, sacrifice, or crime. Those are myths from 1980s satanic panic media. True modern Satanists often stress ethics, consent, and responsibility. The evil worship narrative mostly comes from outsiders misunderstanding the symbolism. That may be true too, to some extent. You know, I'm just reading this and I'm applying my critical intelligence, right? All disclaimers recognized. Summary table. Aesthetic, theistic, left-hand path occult, belief in Satan. Aesthetic, no. Theistic, yes, spiritual being. Left-hand path, often metaphoric, right? So left-hand path, often metaphoric, they're seeing the symbol of Satan. Theistic path, yes, they do believe in Satan. Atheistic path, no, they don't believe in Satan. Purpose for the atheistic path, psychological empowerment. Purpose for the theistic path, spiritual growth or guidance. Purpose for left-hand path occult, self-deification and transformation. Would you like me to break down specific examples of the main ritual types, like a Levian ritual versus a Luciferian invocation, and what they're designed to do in practice? I answered. My answer was leading off the first query. What's the point of satanic rituals? How do they differ? What do they do? I didn't write it, but I'm implying, I'm talking about, and then I start the paragraph. Modern Satanism performing Hollywood rituals. Explain what those do and how they differ from other sects of satanic rituals. There isn't a clear, agreed definition of what Hollywood rituals are. In the context of modern Satanism, much of what people call Hollywood satanic rituals are speculative, symbolic, conspiratorial, or metaphorical, rather than part of a documented, centralized religious practice. And I'm not saying anything about the Bohemian Grove, and I'm not saying that literally happened in the Bohemian Grove. But if ChatGPT could somehow have it has a restrictor for the mainstream, right? But ChatGPT could lose the AI race because there could be other AIs in China that could be more limitless with the occult information, perhaps now more so because of me, right? Much of what people call Hollywood satanic rituals are speculative, symbolic, conspiratorial, or metaphorical rather than part of a documented, centralized religious practice. But I could outline what people mean, how that compares to more established or traditional satanic occult ritual practices, and what evidence there is or isn't. If you want, I could then compare side by side with Levian, theistic, left-hand path Satanism. What people often mean by Hollywood rituals. When people talk about Hollywood rituals, they usually refer to rituals or symbolic acts that are public, performative, stylized, highly visual, provocative, alleged to have hidden meanings or agendas. What these Hollywood rituals are not, what lacks in evidence. How Hollywood rituals differ from more formal satanic or occult rituals, examples and claims, how Hollywood rituals would fit into satanic ideas if taken literally, skepticism and critical perspective. Now, how does this subject, and then after all of that, and I can link the chat because obviously I'm just reading the subject headers. I'm not reading the captions after the subject headers. See, that's the thing with this chat GPT. It's not necessarily accurate, right? So without us even knowing, without the wisdom of the critical intelligence, we wouldn't know if information could be misleading. That's the whole point with the education system. It's not saying that the sciences in the education system could be misleading. It's saying the path and the purpose could be misleading in the sciences and the universities, right? And they wouldn't even know it with esoteric critical intelligence, right? So the purpose and the path could be misleading, right? And they wouldn't even know it. Why is that? Because if ChatGPT could have inaccurate information, then that could be a parallel to the education system not telling us the whole truth. And if it doesn't tell us the whole truth, there's some type of agenda that we don't necessarily know that we're a part of, that we could be going towards, that ironically, hypocritically, we could then be protesting later down along the line. And now we're protesting something based on how we're shitting on a different information that could help us. And now we're at this like weird, bewildered, esoteric, confused mental warfare with the situation that we're in, right? So now we're protesting based on a program and an agenda we signed up under without awareness or critical intelligence. Like, do you see how the off this whole fucking reality is? Like, there's a particular offness to the reality. And if it's not spoken, then the offness will continue. Your protest will continue, and a possible future suffering could continue, right? So this is number one critical intelligence thinking in the galaxy, no cap. And all you alphas will fucking take note. For the sake of your fucking pleasure hoarding, comfort hoarding, fucking vanity hoarding, stylized hoarding, fucking I need to be fucking this hoarding, I don't know what fucking nourishes me hoarding, fucking cap. No cap. Now, how does this subject particularly influence female psychology? Females, in the back of their mind, they could feel betrayed and hurt by the system, and they won't tell you that. So on a default secret level, females, they won't tell you that because they've experienced oppression throughout the ages. So what females, why they could be psychos, perhaps, it's because they feel betrayed and oppressed. And your mainstream news, your Paris Hilton, Ty Lopez won't tell you that real esoteric mainstream shit. They'll just be sold out to some satanic contract shit. They'll get their fucking perks based on their fleeting satanic contract, and they'll just try to adapt per that constriction, right? Per that limitation, right? So now, how does this subject particularly influence female psychology? Based on female psychology, without them telling you, they could feel betrayed and oppressed. All they could do is just kind of like, at one point, in one respective point, all they could really do is just observe in 1%.